Hello, everybody. This is the Catholic Esquire. You'll notice I changed the background a little bit on my videos, and I think that's important to do at this point in time because of what's happening in the church and what's unfolding before our very eyes in the church. I used to have St. Thomas More and Mother Frances Cabrini up there. Um, St. Thomas More, of course, a defender of the church, a lawyer, and Mother Cabrini, uh, champion of charity here in the United States of America. Um, but now we are into battle mode. This is the mindset we have to have. We are in a battle for the church, for preservation of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, which is currently under attack by people who happen to have claimed apostolic authority that have infiltrated the church and injected the heresy of modernism into that church, which was primarily accomplished at the Second Vatican Council. Many of you know this week, Archbishop Vigano, he was supposedly charged with the crime of schism, and there will be some sort of, they call it extrajudicial proceedings that will take place. He has indicated now that he is not going to attend those proceedings because he does not recognize the jurisdiction of Francis, Jorge Bergoglio. And what I want to talk about today, my friends, there's going to be time to talk about the logistics of that, the legalities of that, what canon law has to say about that. I do want to get to those issues at a later time. But today, what I want to talk about is what we as lay people should be doing and thinking about this entire situation. And quite frankly, I'm extremely disappointed with many of the mainstream traditionalist influencers on this because they're really dropping the ball here. They're not stepping up and making those difficult decisions. There's people out there with way more viewers than I do. They have thousands and thousands of subscribers to their magazines, thousands of subscribers to their YouTube channels, all of these things, and that read their articles and buy their books. I don't have any of that. I'm just a guy sitting here behind the camera. I work a normal job, trying to put food on the plate for my family and raise them in the Catholic faith. And yet all of this chaos is going on at the Vatican. The church is under attack, and the people that should be standing up to defend the faith, to defend the church, are sitting back and can't make up their minds on what they want to do because they're worried about how they're going to be perceived by you, by the people that donate to them. And quite frankly, I think they're a little scared because they don't know what to do to be right in the eyes of God on this. And this is the quintessential definition of effeminacy. They're not willing to stand up and make those difficult decisions, take the stand, and help show people and lead people to the faith that they claim that they do all the time on these videos because they're afraid of what they're going to be called. Now, Archbishop Vigano, God bless him. Is that man perfect? No, but nobody is. God bless Archbishop Vigano because he's finally out of all the prelates, he's standing up. He's standing up for the truth here, and he's standing up to defend the faith, the Catholic faith, not just the traditional faith, the Catholic faith, the church. That's what Archbishop Vigano is doing here. And he was charged by Vatican, Bergoglio, for doing what a Catholic should be doing, standing up. And he's in a position to do so. Here's the thing we have to think about, my friends. This is a crisis. We are absolutely in a crisis in the church, but that doesn't mean the church isn't there. It doesn't mean it's going to defect, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't stand up for her just because it's in a crisis. And that crisis is the divorce between authority and the faith, because there are people who otherwise would have legitimate authority. I'm not saying Bergoglio does. He's a different situation. I'm just talking about generally speaking. There are people who generally would normally have, in normal times, have apostolic authority and uh, command rightful obedience to their teachings and what they have to say about the church and what the church teaches. But we are in a crisis here because they're not teaching that. They're actually teaching the opposite. They say and teach things that are in conflict with what we already know to be the faith. And this began very clearly, this started to begin and became formalized at the Second Vatican Council. And Archbishop Vigano is very clear that he is rejecting the errors of the Second Vatican Council, which all Catholics should do, because your duty is to support the faith. And we know the faith because it's taught to us in the catechisms by the church fathers, by the doctors of the church, in scripture, in the teachings of the encyclicals of popes dating back 2,000 years. And so when you hear something that you know is contrary to the faith, because 2 plus 2 can't equal 5, then you must reject it, and it is your duty to reject it. And that's what Archbishop Vigano is saying here. He knows that man, Bergoglio, Francis, who claims to be the Pope, is teaching and doing things that is contrary to the faith and harming souls. And so here's a man who, with great power, Archbishop Vigano, very high up in the Curia under Pope Benedict, he is in a position to say something. And my guess is he's saying, look, I'm going to stand before God as the ultimate judge here on my judgment day. And he knows I'm in a position to say something and call out these errors and to do something about it. Make a stand in bold, tough, hard language. But you have to do it. And that's what Archbishop Vigano has done. And then what's the response? This is what's so upsetting. Here's someone who's finally doing something that needs to be done. And the people that should be supporting him, the traditionalists, the people that claim to love the church and the faith, are attacking him. They're defending Bergoglio. Same people. And yet they try to nuance it. They try to condition it. They try to say, well, Archbishop Vigano is wrong. That's a schismatic act. But at the same time, we have to recognize that, Bergoglio says things that are contrary to the faith, and does things that are not really Catholic, like, worship demon idols, Pachamama, claim God wills the diversity of all religions, it says same-sex blessings are fine, all of these things. You can't have it both ways. Either Jorge Bergoglio's Catholic, or that he believes it, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, you as a Catholic cannot support that. That's the conclusion Archbishop Vigano came to. Why is it that the mainstream, so many, not all of them, you know who you are and who you aren't, why is it that so many traditional mainstream conservative influencers can't bring themselves to get this straight in their own minds? The cognitive dissonance is shocking. Shocking. I've called them fence sitters because on one side they'll say, "Oh yeah," and we're not just talking like bad pope here, right? We're not talking about a pope that has girlfriends on the side and sires children and maybe even steals money from the coffers. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy that doesn't believe the faith and teaches things contrary to the faith. And we know from Vatican I, his primary duty as a supreme pontiff, if he is the supreme pontiff, is to pass down the tradition intact, not make up new stuff, and then claim to have magisterial authority to impose that on you and force you to say you believe it when you know it's contrary to what the church has always taught. So yes, I stand with Archbishop Vigano. I encourage you to stand with Archbishop Vigano, not because Archbishop Vigano is some perfect human being and I idolize him. It's because the man's standing for the faith, for the church, the real church, not this perverted one that's been taken over by perverts, heretics, and schismatics. Because what if Bergoglio's a schismatic? And he is. Then you have to make the decision using what you know about the faith to decide who is who is a schismatic or not until this can be worked out on a formal basis within the church. But that's never going to happen unless people actually stand up and speak up and make this an issue. Now is the time, my friends, that we can make this an issue. Now is the time to say, you know what, this has to be resolved. We can't just sit back and claim 2 plus 2 equals 5 with a straight face and ask people for money and try to have it both ways and sit on that fence. So much more to talk about on this, and I will. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this channel. Spread this video. I don't know a lot of people that are out there going out on a limb in support of Archbishop Vigano on this. So, you know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You know what the church is. You know what it teaches. You've read the catechisms. Have confidence in yourself, not because you're your own authority, not at all, but because you know who the authority is and you're being obedient to them. And that is the magisterium of the Catholic Church. The magisterium of the Catholic Church, the traditions that have been handed down to us since the time of the apostles. That's your authority. That's your authority. Thank you, my friends, for listening. God bless and have a wonderful day.